Hey guys, welcome back to the Team Talk Cook Comics YouTube channel. My name is Charlie, and today we're going to be doing a deck profile for my deck from Virginia Regionals this year. I ended up in 20th place out of about 401 players at the tournament, and I played Trevenant Break. So that was a top 32 finish. Day 2, my final record was 8-4-2. So not a bad finish. I love the deck. I think it was a great play for the event, and although expanded over for the year, I'm going to be going over my list and all of my rounds. So to start off the list, we have the classic. We have 3 Trevenant Breaks, and then we also have 4 basic regular Trevenants, and let me move these. And we also have 4 Phantoms. Pretty basic line of Trev cards. Pretty much every Trevenant deck runs this line. It's just consistent. You don't need a 4th break like ever. So why would you ever really run it if you have an extra space? Because we're never really setting up 4 breaks at once. So, but we also run the 4 Phantoms for consistency and the 4 Tress for consistency as well. It's more important to get the item lock than all the other stuff exactly on time. So we also run 2 Tapu Lele GX. This card's really good for searching out both Wally and other supporters that you might need at the time. Like, I don't know, an N or a Sycamore, or Juniper in this deck, but it's just really solid. You can also use Tapu here in a pinch and Energy Drive when you need to, but it's really just there for consistency. And we can search it out with both Mysterious Treasure and Ultra Ball. Then we have 1 Espeon EX as our last Pokemon. So Espeon EX is really just for the Zoroark GX matchup, because if you're playing against Zoroark GX, you really have trouble hitting 210 HP on their Zoroarks, but you can kill the Zorwas after doing 60 to all of their Zoroarks. So you put 60 on all their Zoroarks, then you bring in Espeon and you devolve, and it picks up all their Zoroarks and makes them into Zorua. So then they only have 60 HP, so it knocks them all out. That helps you wipe the board and beat all of the Zoroark decks. I played against 3. One of them was the second time playing against an opponent. Went 2-1 during the event. So I think Espeon's a really solid card and really helps that matchup a lot. And that's all the Pokemon. That's one of the things I don't like. It's really hard to. It's actually too many basics. It's really hard to start Phantom a lot, which is one of the biggest reasons why I lost some games. Then for trainers, we have 4 VS Seekers. Those are just there for consistency. Really solid cards. I don't understand why anyone would ever play less than 3. And 4 is just really good in decks like Trev, so play 4 when you have the option. Then we have 4 Mysterious Treasure. These replace Ultra Ball since all of our Pokemon are Psychic type. We can use Mysterious Treasure instead and only have to discard 1 card, which makes the deck a lot better. And makes it so you don't have to discard as much. Then we also play 4 Enhanced Hammer. We play 4 Enhanced Hammer so that we can beat most decks like Zoroark and such. Zoroark's a hardish matchup because they have constant energies, and Night March as well, that have DC, knock out your active. So if you Enhanced Hammer, it makes it really, and since they can't recover them with their Puzzle of Time or anything, it makes it really hard for them to keep drawing them. So constantly Enhanced Hammering energies makes it really hard for your opponents to keep playing the game like they usually do. Well, let me spread them out like this. And then after that, we mentioned that we played Mysterious Treasure before to replace Ultra Ball, but at the same time, we still do play 3 Ultra Balls because Ultra Ball, having 7 search cards is really helpful, and Ultra Ball is still not a bad card. We play less than Mysterious Treasure because Mysterious Treasure is objectively better in this deck, but Ultra Ball is still really solid in pretty much every way to have in the deck. Having 7 search cards makes the deck way more consistent. And then we also have 3 Rescue Scarf. The 3 Rescue Scarf are really helpful because you attach Rescue Scarf to Trevenant, and when it gets knocked out, you get to just put it back in hand. They only get a prize for it as well, a single prize, so constantly recycling Trevs and just looping them over and over is actually really useful because one of the biggest ways that Trev used to lose games was because it ran out of Trevenants. And with Rescue Scarf, since you get to attach to the active and when it gets knocked out, you get to put it back in your hand, it makes it way easier to stream Trevenants over and over. Then after that, we played 2 Countercatcher. Countercatcher was really good during the event because Countercatcher, when you're behind on prizes, which happens a lot with Trevenant, you get to basically play a Lysander without using your supporter. And you get to pull something up that might have a high retreat cost or something and make it so it'll be really hard for them to continue playing. You can combo it with Enhanced Hammer a lot, take off their energies and pull up something that they won't use and use Silent Fear. and it makes it so they basically can't use their attack like Riot Speeding to knock you out next turn. Against Zoroark, a lot I'd be counter catcher on like Sudowoodo or something, and enhance hammer off the Zoroark, and if they didn't have a Flow Stone down, it was really, really hard for them to get an attack off next turn. And then we also play one Super Rod. The Super Rod's in here for recycling your Trevenants and your energies. We play 9 energies, but sometimes you still feel like you're running out a lot. So having Super Rod makes it much easier to continue having energies, and also to stream Pokemon like Espeon, sometimes recycle Lele's, and also recycle Trevs if you had to discard them early with Juniper. And I play one Computer Search. I know some people play Scoop Up Cyclone. I think Computer Search is objectively better, though. It's a really good, it's always good to have to search. I use it so much to search for energies or Dimension Valleys. It's just a good consistency card for a consistent deck. And that's all the items. And then going into supporters, we're starting off with 4 Ns. N is one of your biggest win conditions in a lot of games. You can end your opponent down really low under item lock, and it's really hard for them to draw out of it. So playing 4 of them is really important in this deck. We also play other supporters to shuffle your opponent's hand in, but having N is just the best consistent option to have. You always want to be able to shuffle their hand in as well as yours, because they might be setting up like Hex Maniacs in their hand to shut off your item lock next turn or Guzmos, but with N you can always make them like have to take another shot at drawing them. So having 4 Ns is really useful. Then we also play 2 Professor Juniper. Juniper is really strong in this deck. I know some people play more Cynthia than Juniper, but I really like Juniper because it's an option that allows you to draw 1 more card. And in this deck, sometimes you do need to reach for like the Energy Dimension Valley, Trev Break, or weird combos like Counter Catcher and Enhanced Hammer. So having the access to draw 1 more card and just discard what's in your hand instead of have to redraw to it is usually really valuable. So having Juniper in the deck is really strong, and I like 2 much better than 1 in this deck. We also still do play 2 Cynthia, because a lot of times you don't want to discard your hand, and you just want to shuffle and draw a fresh 6. Like maybe if you're taking prizes, still want to shuffle, draw a fresh 6. So Cynthia is really solid for that. It gives you a lot of supporter optionality to shuffle your hand in. You have N, Cynthia, and Juniper to do different things depending on situation. So Cynthia is a really solid card in the deck too. We also play 1 Guzma. I know a lot of people don't play it, but Guzma is really good in this deck because you get to pull up a target when you're not behind on prizes, and you also get to have a gust effect that's recyclable with VS Seekers. So counter catchers, once you use both, they're gone for the game. But once you use your Guzma, you still have VS Seekers to retrieve it. So it's really valuable to have Guzma in the deck as well. And then we also play 1 Ace Trainer. This is the other card we have to shuffle your opponent's hand into their deck. So if they've taken an early prize on a Trevenant and it's like 6 to 5, you can use Ace Trainer to put them down to 3 cards and put yourself all back at 6. So it's like a later game N, but you can do it in the early game. And that's really good in a deck like Trev. They might not have a full setup yet, so you can Ace Trainer them into a really small hand size at a really early point in the game. And with item loss, that can be crippling a lot of times. And also if you have 4 prizes and they have 3, you can Ace Trainer, you get to do N as well. You get to basically end them, but you also get to Cynthia yourself almost. Situations like that come up a lot where you might be lower on prizes, but you're still behind, and you need more cards, so Ace Trainer is a better option in a lot of those situations. And we play 1 Wally as well. Wally was the backbone of the deck in the past, and I still think Wally is really important in the deck because it allows you to get a Trevenant out on turn 1 before your opponent gets a chance to do anything, before they even draw their first card. So Wally's like a really strong option. You should never cut 1 from the deck, but it was also really inconsistent for me. I only pulled off Wally 3 times on turn 1 of the game, 3 times throughout the entire event. And 2 of those times my opponent had Guzma, or in round 1 they played a single item card in their deck, so it didn't really matter. But only 1 time in the entire event out of 14 rounds, I was able to completely destroy my opponent with a turn 1 Wally, which was it's pretty devastating when you pull it off, but you got to pull it off. So I think for Wally to be more effective, you're going to need to find a better way to start Phantom more often, and also get probably 2 Wallies or maybe more search cards so that you can pull out the Wally every game. And that's it for supporters. And then we only have 4 stadiums. and it's 4 Dimension Valleys. Dimension Valley is incredibly solid in the deck. You always want to be able to have one less energy cost because all of Trevenant's attacks cost at least one colorless, as well as their psychic cost. So reducing it to two energies and 1 energy for Silent Fear makes it much easier to stream Trevenants as well. Because after you rescue Scarf, you might not have any energies on the bench. They might kill your active Trevenant, promote your Trevenant, draw Evolve to Trev Break that you got from Rescue Scarf, and attach just 1 energy, and you have Silent Fear active again. So Dimension Valley makes it much easier to like continuously play the game with Trev and continuously attack. So 4 is just kind of a necessity in the deck at this point. And that's the only stadiums we play. And then for energies, we play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 psychic energies. These basic energies are really useful because you can recycle them with Super Rod and such, and they also can't be like hammered or Zergosic or anything. So playing 5 is still solid, but since we play all psychic Pokemon, we also play 4 mystery energy. So you play the 4 mystery energy as well because it reduces your Pokemon's retreat cost by 2, which makes Espeon and Tapu Lele's retreat cost 0, and Phantom's retreat cost 0, but it also makes Trevenant Break's retreat cost 1, and you can use the Mystery Energy to do that retreat. So Mystery Energy provides a lot more mobility in the deck. It's sort of like playing Floatstone in a way, but you also get an energy attachment out of it, so it's also a really solid card. And that's the entire deck. So for how my rounds went, round 1, I played against a pretty new player to the game. He was playing Espeon, Sylveon, Garbodor, Hoopa from Shining Legends, and Sylveon and Ribombee. It was a mess of cards. I don't really remember everything that was in the deck. But I did 2-0 him, but it was actually kind of close because Hoopa does a full 160 damage to Trevenant with his first attack, or its attack that does 80 damage because of weakness. So him setting up Hoopas was kind of scary a lot of times, but I could still pull out the win by counter-capturing up big targets and just silent fearing everything to death. That's how the first one went. Then round 2, I played against. I played against a Necrozma Malamar deck. It was basically the standard deck that Sam Chen won Mexico with, but I think he changed 3 cards. I think he added in a Battle Compressor, a Chorus, and a Computer Search, with only 3 changes he made from the list. So it's basically a standard deck, and Malamar is also a solid matchup because all of their bench Malamars have 90 HP, and that's 3 Silent Fears to kill them all, and also the rest of the Pokemon are weak to Psychic, basically, except for Dawn Wings, but they were able to they were like attacking with Necrozma and such, and I was able to pull off like Guzma, Silent Fear, everything. Then I could just use Tree Slam to knock out Necrozma, or sometimes I use Espeon's, is it Psybolt? Psy Shock to take 1 KO on a Necrozma one time. So I 2-0'd that matchup. That was pretty fun though. I love the guy I played against. He was cool. Then round 3, I played against Ryan Morgan, who top 4'd the event with Zoroark. And game 1, Ryan kind of completely dead drew. I think he played N and then drew nothing, and I just killed all his Zoroarks pretty quickly. And after that, that was a game 1 win. Then game 2 came down to be really close, and at the end of the day, I played a VS Seeker. I pulled out Guzma instead of N. I probably should have gotten N, and I played the Guzma play. I don't know what I was thinking, and then he just goes Special Charge next turn. I knew I lost because I didn't have any more Trebs, and it was over by that point. So I lost game 2. Then game 3, we had like 10 minutes left, so I had to play super fast. And after that, on turn 1 of time, I think I got the win off of a Silent Fear to get enough prizes to win. So that one came down to the wire too. It was a close match, but I got the win out of it. And then round 4, I played against Nick De La Torre, who was also playing Zoroark, and he did not draw as well as Ryan in game 2. So this was another 2-0 win. And game 1, he was up for most of the game, but then I pulled off Enhanced Hammer Counter Catcher, and he couldn't come back from it, and I won off an Espeon Devolve. And game 2, he didn't draw perfectly, but he got ahead as well, and I think I pulled off Enhanced Hammer Counter Catcher, or maybe a Guzma or some play like that to take the win from him there too. So this point I'm 4-0, pretty happy. And I got paired against John Eng, who's playing Vespiquen. That's a pretty good matchup, but in game 1, he started pulling off the Sky Return loop every turn. I end him 5 times, and every single time he would just go DC Shaman. He drew him every single time, so I couldn't really counter most of it. I mean, because you can't beat Sky Return Loop. The only way to beat it is constantly ending them. And eventually, I had been, at the same time, putting a bunch of energies on my Tapu Lele so that I could do 120 to Shaman. And I had 5 energies the turn that he was about to kill my Trevenant. And then he bent his Combi, of course, which is correct to do at that moment when he kills my Trevenant so that I can't attach an energy and kill his only Shaman. And I kill his Shaman, or actually I start spreading again with another Trev, I think, or passing, one of the two. And at the end of the game, then I play N and take like a KO, and he promotes Combi, or he promotes Vespiquen at the time. And I'm just like, all right, I lose if he has DC. And before drawing a card, he just flips over DC. So Endo 1 DC is kind of painful, and I lost to a good matchup in that game. But game 2 came back, and he had a relatively strong start going. I missed the Wally, of course, and going second, he still had a pretty solid start. Set up a bunch of Pokemon in his discard and was hitting for a lot. He was probably had a pretty good position, but at one point in time, he had 60 damage on basically his entire board, and he just goes to kill my Trevenant, and I promote Espeon Devolve to wipe his whole board. And he realized after the game that he forgot he had a Combi in his hand that he had to bench, which would have won him, so I won that game. I felt bad for him, but at the end of the day, he still got a good win out of a pretty tough matchup. He still got a tie out of it because we ended up tying going to game 3. So, I mean, he played it really well. Congrats to him. Sadly, he didn't make day 2. He lost to the other Trevenants he played against, but still, he played it really well and at least got a tie out of probably his worst matchup. Then going into round 5 at 401, I'm happy. This round I'm playing on stream. I'll put the link in the description. I'm against Ryan Stablehouse with Drampagard. So I'm pretty confident in this matchup. I've been testing it a lot, and I know that if they don't play Giratina promo, it's a pretty darn solid matchup to play. So game 1 on stream, you can go watch for yourself, but I was pretty much up drawing everything, drawing literally everything I needed. I think I 6-0'd of this game. It was kind of destructive because he didn't have really anything he needed. And then game 2, I went down. I was getting kind of destroyed. He had items the whole game, or most of the game, taking KOs, and then I played out the game for a really long time, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I knew that I still had a chance to win the game off of counter catcher if he didn't have a DC in hand, and as soon as he dropped the DC, I just conceded. And then I knew that, and then it was game 3, and I didn't have my watch with me, so I didn't really know what time it was, but headphones white noise was actually very quiet comparatively to most events. It wasn't that bad, like compared to some events where it's been terrible to play under white noise, but I could hear the regular rounds, not art, because on stream you're on a separate timer. I could hear, and we always start afterwards and we run over, so I could hear them call time outside for the people not playing on stream, and I knew that I had about 5 minutes left there. So as soon as they called time out there, I started speeding up incredibly fast and played and barely got the win on turn 1 of time after he played Cynthia and did not draw the psychic energy he needed to get a tie out of it. So I ended up winning game 3 just barely. Good games, Ryan. It was nice playing against you. And I was 501, feeling pretty good at the time. And then I got paired against Danny Altavilla, and he was also playing Drampagard, and he was playing a Giratina promo in his list. Game 1 I won because he didn't bench the Giratina promo ever, and I kind of just had everything, and he was just attacking with Lele's the whole game. And I drew pretty hot, so that was a win. Then game 2, he got the Giratina promo. I didn't really evolve into Trev Break for a really long time until I needed to, but he was still taking KOs with everything. He was able to set up a Garbodor as well, so then I could evolve into Trev Break safely, but he still had items. And he was able to take a pretty dominating game 2. And then game 3, he also got Giratina promo out turn 1, attached Flowstone and got a Flowstone on Trubbish pretty quickly. And he also had items the entire game there, and that one didn't go well either. I wasn't really drawing everything I needed, so I ended up losing that one. So 5-1-1, still in a solid position for day 2, which is good. Then I got paired against Matthew Whitted, who the night before was in my group chat with Cena, and he played my exact 60 cards. So it was a 60 card Trevmir. I didn't know he was playing my 60 until the end of the match, but it was kind of fun. I mean, Trevmir is kind of a really degenerate matchup. Like, it's terrible. It's not really like a skill-based matchup or an interactive matchup. It's really just whoever gets a better setup most of the time, and whoever can't pull off Guzmas or whatever loses. So game one, I got off in my opinion, the dream lone Trevenant start, where I just have a Trevenant on the board, nothing on the bench, so he's not hitting me with like Silent Fear extra damage. And then when I was about to die, I dropped Phantom, and he had a big board of everything, so I could play like Guzma to get items back in some instances. And I ended up winning that one. And then game two, I got a pretty similar start, and he had to use Lele's and such to set up, so I ended up 2-0ing him there because I had just a better setup in that matchup, and which is pretty much the entire basis of the matchup is just getting a better setup than your opponent. So I was happy he made day two though. He ended up winning his next round afterwards because he was playing my list. I loved the list, and I was happy someone else was succeeding with it. But at the time, I was 6-1-1. Going to my last round, I got paired against Cody Graham, who's playing Night March. I didn't know it at the time, but I wouldn't have changed my decision anyways. I ID'd with him to go to 6-1-2 and make day two because I knew I was guaranteed, and I didn't want to risk it with going for the win, even though some people told me I probably should have. I don't care. I'll always ID when there's something you're getting for it, like a day two finish. If you know you don't have it locked yet, but you know you're going to lock it by getting the ID, then just take the ID. So I took the ID there. Although I probably could have won, I didn't want to play it out. So I was 6-1-2 into day two. There were 32 people. I went in at 10th seed, I think, which was pretty solid in my opinion. But then day two started, and round one, I got paired against Ryan again. And this time, Ryan drew pretty dang hot. I did not draw well at all. I got destroyed. So game one, I think I just had a terrible setup, got completely ran over. Game two, I got an okay setup, pulled off a couple turns where I was like, okay, this like counter catcher Guzma could win me the game, but he just had like Guzma or Hex Maniac every time, and I just got destroyed. So lost that one pretty badly. Then round two, I got paired against Michael Pramawat. This was an interesting round. I got there a little bit late, not actually late though, so I didn't have a late penalty, so I was shuffling really fast at the beginning of the game. And game one, we were playing for a good bit, and I was about to put him in like a checkmate scenario where he had gone VS Seeker for teammates because he had a Marshadow in the active, and he knew I was going to kill it, and that would have given him win. So instead of killing it, I played Guzma I played counter catcher on his Shaman, and enhanced hammered him, enhanced hammered the Marshadow, and then used Silent Fear, putting 3 Shamans at 90 damage and his Marshadow at 120. So I had game next turn no matter what, and the only thing he could have done was Sky Return me. And then the judge comes up behind me and says, oh, there's a card on the ground. I ended up getting a double prize penalty for it. We were pretty sure it dropped in the beginning of the game when I was shuffling incredibly fast to like start up the match. Because I usually pile shuffle to make sure I have 60 cards. But I wasn't able to do that because I didn't want to get a late penalty. So that finished out, and he had 2 prizes left. It was sad that I lost that, but it happens. Then game 2, I draw my opening hand, start Espeon, draw, play Cynthia. I played N, and didn't get a basic pass. I was like, okay, the game's over, I lose. He's just going to donk me. And then he doesn't donk me with his Joltik. He just does 100. And then I draw again, I enhanced hammer, I play Cynthia, and I whiff a basic again, and he gets the KO. So, I mean, I lost, and I flipped over my prizes. It was all 3 Ultra Balls, Mysterious Treasure, Phantom, and I think a Rescue Scarf. So, kind of disappointing way to lose, just not even getting your deck set up at all. But Pram played it well anyways, and I wish I would have been able to play a full Game 2/Game 3, but it doesn't always happen that way. So, I was pretty sure I was out of top 8 at this point, but I didn't really care, because I really just need a top 16 to lock my invite. So then I played against Cody Graham after this again, and this time we played. Game 1, I got off Wally, destroyed him. This was the time the Wally stuck. Game 2, he had a pretty good setup, and he hexed him, started going crazy with discards and such. but then he had a Marshadow active, and he forgot that Hex turned off Shadow Hunt, so he couldn't use the attack, and then the next turn I Enhanced Hammer KO'd, and he didn't really have anything response from there, so I won game 2 pretty convincingly as well, and got the win there. Then I got paired against Matthew Whitted again, who's also playing my list. I was happy he was doing well still. And this time, game 1, he played an N at the end, putting my Trev at the KO damage. I didn't get a basic, so he won off killing my Trev in the active. Then game 2, I did a pretty similar thing. I think I got an Espeon Devolver, an Espeon attack for... Oh, actually, no. I got a Lele attack for the win. I promoted Lele, attached to Psychic Energy, and knocked out his Trev. And he didn't see that coming. So I ended up getting a win there in game 2. But game 3, I drew pretty terribly. I set up at least a Trev or 2, I think, but he had a much better setup than me and could actually play the game really. So I ended up losing that there. So that was fine. I mean, Trevmere is degenerate. That's kind of how it goes sometimes. Then round 14, I wanted to play the last one just for a shot at getting top 16 possibly, and I don't ID when I'm not getting anything for it, and I knew I wouldn't get anything out of it, so I might as well play the matchup. Playing against Jay Young, who's a great guy, playing Trevenant as well. His list was pretty interesting though. I know he was playing Shaman, and he was playing red cards and Pokepuffs, which is pretty cool, but also not very good in the Trev mirror. So game 1, he has an incredibly convincing lead, but I end up playing Guzma on one of his, I think it was a bench Trevenant with nothing on it, and just Silent Fearing, and I end up wiping his whole board before he can come back from it. It was 6-1 in prizes, but I ended up getting the win out of that game. And then game 2, he drew pretty poorly, and I ended up taking another convincing win because I just outdrew him, and that's how Trevmere works a lot of times. So ended up finishing 8-4-2, pretty solid record. Happy about my performance, 20th place, 60 points, which puts me at 387, which is within a League Cup's range of my invite. So I'm just going to go attend a cup and hopefully top 8 it, or top 16 it, I don't know, to get my invite to Worlds this year. So that's about it. It was great to see everyone in Roanoke. I will see everyone in Indianapolis not Indianapolis, no, that was last year. Columbus this July 6th to 8th for internationals. And it was great to see everyone there. So thank you very much for watching the video. Make sure to check out TopCutComics.com and please use the promo code TCCTEAM10. That's in the description as well. When you use it, you get 10% off your entire order on already great prices, and it really helps us out a lot. So it'd be really great if you could use the code and when ordering from the site. And thank you very much for watching the video. Soon we're going to have a couple more deck profiles going up from the rest of Virginia and Madison. So thank you very much, and we'll see you later.